The Israelis still don't know the precise number of people murdered on October the 7th. There's a reason for that, because it takes time to work out massacres of that scale. One of the striking, you know, I just don't know if either of your guests are going to allow me a word in.
Because you are lying, and even the numbers from Israel, from the IDF, which are not accredited.
No. You will, you know,
These are your
it's
numbers.
really interesting hearing somebody who presents themselves as a moderate being a spokesperson for Hamas. So let me continue.
DouglasMurray, known for his incisive commentary and unflinching analysis, hogs the spotlight as he confronts a Hamas supporter in a high-stakes debate. Watch as Murray carefully dismantles arguments, leaving his opponent flustered and desperate.
When I'm coming to meet with you to advocate for my Palestinian people and for saving lives of the people is jihad. And this is the highest level of jihad. The resistance against someone who is invading you, this is the lowest level of jihad. But jihad, when I'm traveling, when I am going to any place, even someone who is dying because of far away from his home is a kind of jihad. When we are fasting, when we are walking, walk is a jihad. And that's the most important. We need to understand it, not to take it out of the context in the limited understanding of it.
Dr. Zeldin Abouelaish offers a compelling perspective on jihad, emphasizing its broader, peaceful dimensions that are often misunderstood or misrepresented. His argument highlights that jihad isn't just about physical resistance, but encompasses various struggles. Abouelaish reframes jihad as a universal human experience of striving for survival, dignity, and justice, whether it's for Palestinians or anyone facing hardship.
You would not categorize October the 7th as a resistance.
It's, you know, I condemned the killing of any innocent human being. And for me, I was born, my daughters were killed before October 7th.
Yes, I know.
I was born as a Palestinian refugee before October 7. My parents were refugees before 48. Yes. They were born in Palestine. So the history didn't start. The world is not created October 7th. That's what we need. And we are today.
But I don't
it's important. But let me continue.
I don't think
let me continue, please.
Right.
Today is the 12th of December. Today is the 12th of December, where we have more than 23 Palestinians, 1,000 are killed. More than 45,000 are severely wounded. Even the damage in the Gaza Strip, as Borrell, the representative of Foreign Affairs in the European Union, it's far beyond the damage in Germany. For 6 years, in 2 months, more than that. So even, you know how
that's not true, actually.
Why?
No, there was far more.
He said that.
Who said that?
Borrell, the representative of the European Union, the Foreign Affairs.
Yeah, but far more people died in World War II than have died.
No,
in
the damage. The
structural damage.
The destruction.
Well, there certainly would have been more damage in Germany in World War II.
He mentioned that himself.
Well,
Dr. Zeldin provides a crucial reminder that the suffering of Palestinians did not begin on October 7th, nor can the conflict be reduced to that single event. His personal story, having lost daughters before this date, underscores that the history of displacement and violence in Palestine runs deep. By condemning the killing of innocents, he rejects the simplification of complex realities and calls attention to the immense devastation in Gaza, which, as he points out, rivals the destruction seen in other major conflicts.
However, I have repeatedly questioned the proportionality of Israel's response, as indeed their greatest allies,
but not the response itself.
Are now doing.
But not the response itself, though.
I think they're perfectly entitled to go and take out Hamas.
So may I continue my question then?
Yes.
So since, as I repeat, since you have justified their response, maybe not how they've carried it out exactly, but you justify their response as self-defense.
Their right to defend themselves by taking out the terrorists who committed that atrocity, yes.
Okay. And presumably you refuse to call Israel, and you have refused when you've been asked to call Israel a terrorist organization, government, or the IDF a terrorist organization.
Well, the difference is here we are. Well, hang on.
No. Let me finish my question, please. I have a question for you.
I must clarify.
Let me finish my question.
You're making some statements that are a bit misleading.
Sure.
This country considers Hamas to be a prescribed terror group. They do not consider Israel to be a terrorist organisation, and nor do I. So that's the position.
But
I'm not asking you.
The United States consider
I'm not asking the British government. I'm asking you, peers.
I don't think
the British government isn't here.
I do not think they're a terrorist organisation.
Now let me finish my question, if I can ask the question as well, right, for us to discuss. So considering that you have justified the operation that Israel initiated as self-defense, and that you refuse to call Israel a terrorist organization or a terrorist government, despite the fact that almost as many Palestinians, Gazans have died under Israel's precision bombing, then as Londoners have died during the whole year of the Blitz under German bombing, which wasn't precision bombing, and yet you still say that, well, Israel isn't a terrorist organization. I think the question we should be asking is, should you be suspended? Is it responsible to have a person with your views speaking to the public when you clearly refuse to condemn that which needs to be condemned, which was worse than the London Blitz? Those that condemn
perfectly reasonable.
With precision weapons, and the Germans didn't even have precision weapons.
Abdullah al-Andalusi raises an important critique by questioning the inconsistency in how state actions are classified and condemned. He points out that Israel's actions in Gaza, despite being framed as precision bombing, have resulted in a death toll comparable to the Blitz in London during World War II, yet without the same label of terrorism. His argument challenges the selective use of terms like terrorism and calls for a more balanced application of condemnation, regardless of whether the violence is state-sanctioned or not.
I've given you an unequivocal answer. Now let me ask you if you can give me one.
Yes.
Do you believe Hamas are a terror organisation?
Okay, and I'd like to ask you, what does that mean?
Just answer my question.
Well, I need clarification.
Well, this country has prescribed them as a terror group. Do you think they are?
Are you the British government?
No, I'm asking you what you think.
Okay, so I want a clarification.
I gave you a simple, straight answer.
What does it mean?
No, you tell me.
I don't know. You're asking me a question. You asked the question.
You don't think they are a terror group?
No, I want your definition of what is a terror group?
An act that commits acts of terror, a group that commits terrorist acts, as they did on October the 7th.
So one that commits terror attack, all right, fine. So define terror.
Do you want to answer the question or not?
I do, but I just want clarification.
No, we all know what terrorism is.
Please, no, we're going to go somewhere with this. We're going to go somewhere with this, right?
Well, are you going to answer the question?
Yes, once I get your definition. What's a terror attack?
The definition is as is laid down in international law.
Which is?
It's committing an act of terror.
Which is?
Which is terrorism.
Are you asking questions you don't know the definition of?
Well, why don't you tell me what you think it is?
I don't know. You're asking the question.
You've no idea what terrorism is.
No, I want you to answer your question.
I would say massacring 1,200 people on October the 7th in the way Hamas did is an act of terror. Do you agree?
So killing civilians is an act of terror?
No, that's not what I said.
So then killing civilians is not an act of terror?
Committing a massacre on that scale is terrorism.
So killing civilians is not an act of terror?
You're not going to answer. Let me bring
I want your definition.
No,
I want you to be consistent.
We have a third guest.
In this fiery, no-holds-barred debate, Abdullah al-Andalusi and the host clash like gladiators in an intellectual arena, each determined to outmaneuver the other. The host, unwavering, fires off the burning question, is Hamas a terror organization? Yet al-Andalusi refuses to be backed into a corner, turning the question on its head, demanding the host define what terrorism truly means. The atmosphere crackles with intensity as both men circle each other verbally, neither willing to flinch or give an inch.
Let me first of all say that it's necessary to clear quite a lot of things up, because we've heard quite a lot of hogwash in the last few minutes. Firstly, your guest last night is a member of an extremist organization, Hizb ut-Tahrir, which is banned in many countries, including in European countries. And it's also banned in many Muslim countries. It's banned in Pakistan, it's banned in Egypt, and that's because these Muslim governments recognize that it is an extremist group that has a revolutionary ideology that wants to replace government in Muslim countries as well as in... do you know... Germany.
One European country is banned in DouglasMurray. I'm not going to let you lie to the audience like you usually do. You're going to justify everything you say on this show, DouglasMurray. Right? So please, give me one country.
Germany.
It's not banned in Germany.
I just said
it's not banned in Germany.
You're not listening. You're not listening. You're not listening.
To the audience.
Let
Google it for yourself. Hizb ut-Tahrir in Germany.
Really
are they banned as an organisation?
Is this Mr. Al-Andalusi? Can I just check? Because I can't see you.
It is.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a guy, he's of no significance, but he's a guy who I have seen in studios for years spouting extreme Islamist rhetoric. Many years ago, he couldn't condemn the killing of the journalists at Charlie Hebdo. Last year, he wouldn't condemn the attempted murder of Salman Rushdie. Now he can't do this. He fails every single test. But let me get on to the question. I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to engage in a fun fight with this Islamist. Let me answer the question that Piers put to me before you try to interrupt again.
Only if you don't lie.
Let him answer, please.
First of all,
let him answer, please.
But all right.
First of all, I'm not going to keep being talked over by this Islamist blowhard. Let me speak. First of all, your first guest treated us to the first bit of mouthwash this evening by claiming that the word jihad can mean absolutely anything. Nonsense. When a big bearded member of Hizb ut-Tahrir calls for jihad on the streets of London, then they are not calling for an interpersonal struggle with the nature of the divine. They are calling for violence. And anyone who can't recognize that should be questioned about their own motives.
Murray's attempt to dismiss his Muslim opponents by labeling them as extremists without addressing the core of their argument reveals a tendency to rely on ad hominem attacks rather than engage in substantive debate. His sweeping claim that any use of the term jihad automatically calls for violence is a gross oversimplification. Jihad, as many Islamic scholars have pointed out, encompasses a broader meaning, including personal struggle and striving for moral integrity.
Secondly, we've just been treated to a monologue about casualty figures in Gaza. Where do these figures come from? I'll tell you where they come from. They come from Hamas. It's quite remarkable to me that 2 months after the October the 7th massacre, the Israelis still don't know the precise number of people murdered on October the 7th. There's a reason for that, because it takes time to work out massacres of that scale. One of the striking, I just don't know if either of your guests are going to allow me a word in.
Because you are lying, and even the numbers from Israel, from the IDF, which are not accredited.
No. You will,
These are your
it's
numbers.
really interesting hearing somebody who presents themselves as a moderate being a spokesperson for Hamas. So let me continue.
Murray's assertion that the casualty figures in Gaza come solely from Hamas ignores the fact that multiple independent organizations, including the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and numerous human rights groups, also report on the toll of violence in Gaza. His dismissal of these figures as unreliable conveniently sidesteps the consistent and widespread documentation of civilian casualties from neutral observers. Furthermore, Murray's insinuation that the lack of precise numbers from Israel somehow diminishes the scale of the October 7th massacre overlooks the reality of chaos in war zones and the time it often takes to assess full impacts. His attempt to equate questioning Israel's figures with support for Hamas is a misleading tactic that avoids genuine engagement with the actual human cost of the conflict.
They are Hamas figures. They are all provided by the ministries of Hamas, which is a prescribed terrorist organization. If you want to reel off Hamas figures, then be my guest, but you are not able to mislead the viewers of Piers' show by quoting Hamas figures at his viewers as if they are holy writ.
I am not quoting.
Third,
it's the Euromed.
We've been treated to this
the
nonsense.
United Nations.
We've been treated.
It's the international community organizations.
Where do you think they get the figures from? Where do you think they get the figures from? Thirdly, I will continue to speak if it kills you.
Murray's dismissal of all casualty figures in Gaza as Hamas figures is an attempt to undermine any narrative that contradicts his own, but it lacks credibility. Casualty reports from Gaza are not solely sourced from Hamas. They are corroborated by a range of independent bodies, such as international NGOs, the Red Cross, the United Nations, and other humanitarian organizations that operate in conflict zones. These organizations have a track record of providing data grounded in field observations and verified assessments. Murray's refusal to acknowledge this weakens his argument while reducing all reports to a single, biased source. It's essential to recognize the diversity of sources to grasp the full picture of the conflict's human toll.
Thirdly, World War II. It is nonsense that what has been happening in Gaza has, as you said in this endless list of fallacies, that there has been more bombing in Gaza, more deaths and destruction in Gaza than during World War II. Do you know anything about World War II?
Almost,
do you know anything about World War II?
In
Dresden alone,
Germany. Do you know anything about World War II, Douglas?
Take one German city. Take one German city. The destruction was on a scale totally dissimilar to what's been happening in Gaza.
I'm taking London.
Very, very interested. I'm very interested, and I will, once again, I will finish this point, even if both of these boys
let me ask Douglas one question.
No, it's
I will finish the point I wanted to make.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you both. Let me ask Douglas one question.
I wanted to make,
Douglas, specifically about the doctor.
It is very important for your viewers to hear the following definition. The definition of terrorism is the deliberate targeting of innocent civilians. That is what Hamas specializes in. That is what Hamas did on October the 7th.
And that's what is happening in Gaza also.
Is what Israel is doing terrorism? No, for the following reason. And again, you can lie about this if you want, but do not expect not to be challenged about it. What the IDF is doing is the same manner of war as the British Army, the American Army, and all other armies in the civilized world. They target terrorists like Hamas, and there are civilian casualties. Yes, there are. But it is not the aim of the IDF any more than it is of the British or American armies to target civilians. And anyone who pretends otherwise is lying to the public watching.
Murray's defense of Israel's actions as comparable to the warfare tactics of civilized armies like those of the US and UK overlooks key facts about proportionality and the rules of engagement in modern warfare. While Murray argues that civilian casualties are an unfortunate byproduct of targeting terrorists, the sheer scale of destruction in Gaza, with thousands of civilian deaths, points to a failure to minimize harm to non-combatants as required by international law. Israel has been widely criticized by human rights organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch for indiscriminate strikes that have disproportionately affected civilians. In this intense debate, Abdullah al-Andalusi and Dr. Izzeldin Abuelaish challenge Murray's claims by emphasizing the complexity of the conflict and questioning the consistency of applying terms like terrorism and precision bombing. Their arguments highlight the need for a nuanced understanding of the conflict, beyond mere labels and figures, to truly grasp the profound human cost and historical context involved. What do you think? Does Douglas Murray's argument hold up, or do Abdullah al-Andalusi and Dr. Izzeldin Abuelaish offer a stronger perspective? Drop your thoughts in the comments and join the debate. Your voice matters.